Why are you running for president?
There's a lot of things I'd like to do in Washington, and I'd like the chance. And, I had 2 pretty good terms as governor, and I think I could start Monday on the job.
So tell us what you want to do in Washington.
First thing I want to do is no more trillion-dollar deficits, and that's something I did in a heartbeat when I was governor, and I was ranked the most fiscally conservative governor in the United States, despite succeeding Michael S. Dukakis as governor in Massachusetts.
Let me just ask you about the Republican Party. There are some people saying the Republican Party will never go back to what it was, strong on foreign affairs, strong on national security, fiscally conservative, as you mentioned a few minutes ago.
Yeah, and I'm all those things, and I'm conservative on the environment. I think we should conserve the environment. That's my idea of a Republican, those 4 things.
Well, is that party dead? I mean, can that party come back from President Trump whenever he's gone?
I think the party will be dead unless Mr. Trump is either removed from office or defeated in the 2020 election. I don't think the party can survive another 4 years of Donald Trump. And, let's be honest, he cares about himself, period. So he wants all those Republican senators to walk the plank for him. And if they do, they will all be defeated. We won't have a Republican Senate. As a Republican, I kind of worry about not having a Republican Senate, because then if we get, a real lefty in there, they'll be able to get things through Congress. So I think it's well worth saving the Republican Senate. And I think the only way to do that is to have Mr. Trump out of there. And he doesn't care about them. And the evidence of his, removability is overwhelming. So they'd really have to blink not to remove him.
How do you persuade people free trade is really good for all
Free
Americans?
trade always benefits the United States because we have the highest productivity per worker of any country in the world by a mile. Free trade always benefits us. That's not to say it doesn't benefit other countries as well. Free trade benefits both sides. And Mr. Trump massively does not understand this. He thinks everything is a zero-sum game, so you have to start out with a very unreasonable position and just get pushed off it a little bit, and that way you always get to, take advantage of the other guy and get a better deal. Read The Art of the Deal. It's all about taking advantage of the counterparty. That's not the mindset I would bring to international discussions.
So the most obvious part of Trump's trade policy is the tariffs. Would you remove those tariffs right away?
Yeah, Mr. Trump's first instinct in foreign policy is tariffs and sanctions. It's all negative.
What do you think of the 2017 Republican tax cut law, which it did cut all the tax rates, but it cut more at the top, and it generally favored the wealthy and businesses more than the middle class?
Yeah, I think it probably favored the wealthiest a bit too much. It had good stuff in there. I thought the accelerated depreciation, that's a hobby horse I've been riding for a long time. That's a big job creator. Mm-hmm. So that was a good thing. In connection, at about the same time, they did the repatriation of profits stashed abroad with a 10% fee coming in. I've been contending for that for years and years. I would have voted for it in a heartbeat. I often say I never met a tax cut I didn't like.
Worry about a Warren presidency if that should come to pass, or do you think that most of the things she wants to do would just be stopped in Congress?
Well, I'd worry about it a lot less with the Republican Senate. Mm-hmm. She's a nice person. She's a smart person. She's not an out-of-control, reckless person like the current incumbent.
Mm-hmm. What's your opinion of Joe Biden?
I've known Joe for decades, as almost anyone who's been around Washington for a while, and very favorably in both directions.
Do you think he'd be a good president?
I do.
Next spring, when all this is happening, do you think you'll be running against Donald Trump or Mike Pence?
I don't know. I hope it's Mike Pence. I hope the Republicans are going to remove this guy. And things, that's our insurance policy, among other things, against him spending $1 billion on Facebook ads and essentially buying the election. That sort of thing could happen in this guy's hands. I worry about that. I think the guy's a menace to the Republic, and I want to, I don't think this would be a bad precedent, having the Senate vote to remove him. I think it could be a valuable precedent against the day when we might have another Nero or a dictator come along and try and take away our liberties as a country. And then we say, oh no, there's guardrails for what a president can do, what the chief executive can do. Look back at the Trump case. Is miles beyond anything Dick Nixon ever thought of. Worse. Nixon one time said, hey, tell them it's the CIA. They should, forget about this Watergate investigation. Trump told people to lie. He said phony documents. They said, we can't do that. That would be a lie. He said, well, what's your point? Meaning, you're here to lie to protect me, the president. The ultimate loyalty test, the same one he gave to Jim Comey. He wanted loyalty in law enforcement. I spent 7 years of my life in the Justice Department trying to keep politics out of law enforcement.
So if you were a Republican senator, you would, and it got that far, you would vote to convict the president?
Oh, I think he absolutely needs to be removed. I also think that may be the only way we get rid of him. And he's got the country in a turmoil, and he has promised a civil war if he doesn't get what he wants. That's his words, not mine. Capital C, capital W. We've already had one civil war, 600,000 Americans dead.
So finish up on environmental policy. Carbon tax, you think that would be enough?
It would be a fee, not a tax. The government would not keep the money.
How would it go back to consumers?
You would either send it back through the payroll tax or send it back by abolishing the federal gas tax and federal tax on diesel.
So raise one tax, lower another tax, do it in a way that consumers feel like they're coming out whole?
That is correct. I wouldn't call the first one a tax. I honestly would call it a fee because it's not net, it's revenue neutral to the government.